This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast. I am here solo today. Nick wanted to be here. Another multimedia star with a stint on Sports Hub on Monday. Good for Nick. We had a little miscommunication because I'm the idiot that I am. Nick was arranging a time, and I forgot to click enter to agree to the time. So he'll be back later in the week. We'll talk about the OTA on Wednesday and all that. But before we get going, this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA or NFL tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Really appreciate PrizePicks and GameTime as sponsors. Go and check them out. It's good stuff, especially this time of year. NBA Finals coming up. NFL schedule released, all that stuff. So we're going to do a few things, do a few headlines, answer a few mailbag questions that I had over on Boston Sports Journal with the member chat that I do every week. Some interesting stuff, I think, and wanted to relate that to you guys. But headlines, Matthew Judon held a series of youth football camps this past weekend. Karen Garrigan from Mass Live was there at one of them. Apparently, and you get these things at these charity events in the offseason. Apparently, they said that contract questions were off limits with him, but Karen basically was able to get Judon to say that he was coming to mandatory minicamp because he didn't want to give up money because you'll get fined if you're not there. Not a surprise. I can't even think of an instance. Maybe there are. Only maybe franchise tag guys who aren't currently under contract. But as far as guys under contract in the NFL, they all report to minicamp. They don't hold out because of the fines. And you see more hold-ins. Do I expect Judon to be doing much on the field in the mandatory minicamp? That could be the question. We'll have to see. Obviously, I think he's in line for a new deal, whether it's here or someplace else. We'll have to see. There was a report from Jeremy Fowler saying that Broncos receiver Courtland Sutton wants to be paid in the $15-16 million range. Denver currently has about $8.7 million in available cap space, but big extensions for guard Quinn Miners and cornerback Pat Surtain are on deck. So Courtland Sutton's a guy that we have brought up many times as sort of a one of those guys that the Patriots could possibly go out and trade for. The Broncos have already traded Jerry Jeudy. I doubt that they trade Courtland Sutton, but look, if the Broncos don't want to pay that and they might think about moving him, I'm interested. I think Courtland Sutton's a really good player. I probably would have given him the what's his name? The Calvin Ridley deal that the Patriots offered, $20 million, so $15-16 million. I'm in it. So the wide receiver market has gotten out of control. I mean, when Amon-Ra St. Brown gets a deal that, averages 30 per year. A.J. Brown's at 32. Tyreek's at 30. Okay, you understand that. Devontae, you understand that at 28. The Amon-Ra St. Brown deal did not go over well in NFL circles. It's totally, he's a slot receiver. He's not even he's not A.J. Brown. He's not Tyreek Hill. He's not Devontae Adams. He's more the lines of Cooper Kupp. So if Courtland Sutton is available and for that price, yeah, I'm doing it. But I don't expect him to be available. Somebody's got to make Denver and their whole quarterback situation look good, and Courtland Sutton would be one of those guys. One thing I wrote for Monday at Boston Sports Journal, I sort of did my annual took a little bit of time, but I did my annual look back, talking to NFL executives. Certainly one I definitely talked to for a long time about all of them. Then their stuff came up about Javon Baker and a few other guys that I had to check with the rest of the league. So I just wanted to get the background on the Patriots draft picks. You guys know that I don't do much of a deep dive on the draft picks. When I do look at the draft picks, it's all film stuff, and we know that that the success, guys going from college to pros, often doesn't come down to what you see on the film. It comes down to the player, their habits, their personality, their characteristic, how hard are they going to work, like all that stuff. So I call guys I've talked to for years in this league, and this executive basically read from their scouting reports on these guys. I don't think a lot of it was major. Certainly, Javon Baker is a guy that there's a lot of people in the league that aren't sure whether this is going to work out. They think that 4th round was a bit too rich for all of his concerns. One league executive I talked to thinks that half the league had him off their boards. I will say that the kid certainly has talent. There's no doubt about that. There's a term in terms of like when you look at these draft picks, how much you're going to have to babysit them, keep an eye on them, all that stuff. Like there's basically different levels. There's, no maintenance. The guy's going to do things on his own. He'll be fine. There's light maintenance, might have to keep an eye on them a little bit. And then there's the heavy maintenance guys, which is they're going to have to be coached hard. You're going to have to keep an eye on them off the field. Javon Baker fell into that area for this scout. Reading from some of it, he was a non-fit grade-wise. His character stuff was a concern, heavy maintenance. There was a deal where there was a car that pulled up next to him. That was with 4 white males who made racist comments towards him. He flashed a gun. The police showed up. He was honest with them. That was 2021. Then there's a bunch of stuff, just stuff from reckless driving, multiple fights, suspensions at Alabama. Went to jail, charge was dropped. There's multiple gun incidents, some other stuff. Family background history is not great, so there's a lot of stuff with him. When all that stuff, I try to, when stuff is somewhat alarming, I check with other league sources on this stuff, including a source close to Javon Baker, who basically confirmed everything that was in that report. But another executive brought up the father, Gerald Baker, Javon Baker's dad, has been an issue in the past. He's the scout said, the stories about Caleb Williams' father. This is times 10. He wants to be part of everything. Everything is about money. If Javon's not playing, there could be an issue. He's not afraid to stick his nose in. When the kid is away from the father, it wasn't so bad. If he's there and involved, look out. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, things didn't work out. From what I can glean, Alabama didn't want Javon Baker anymore. He was supposed to go to Kentucky, but Kentucky basically said, and I think he went there for a workout or something along those lines, and Kentucky was like, thanks, no thanks. UCF worked out with Gus Malzahn, who has publicly said really nice things about Javon Baker, and but in NFL circles, they know, because these UCF coaches talk to them and give them the honest assessment. Baker was supposed to go back to UCF for this year and agreed to a big NIL deal, and including got a decent chunk of coin up front. He got the upfront money. Next day he declared for the draft. There's expected to be litigation and all that coming up. We'll have to see if that goes away or not. Already, since he's been with the Patriots, there's a social media posts, which the Patriots are not happy about. Also, the fact that that on right before he was due to report to rookie camp, he fired longtime agent Joe Linta. Joe, I've known Joe for years. Him and Bill used to do a lot of work together. He's one of the really good guys in this business. He usually represents really good players off the field, stuff like that. I don't know why he represented Javon. He wouldn't answer questions when I asked him, other than to confirm that he was fired by Baker. And Baker decided to go with an agent I've never heard of, Jason Davis, who has negotiated 7 contracts. Also, one other thing, I don't know if it happened, but Baker was supposed to show up for OTAs with an entourage, like publicist, bodyguard, other stuff. He's a 4th round pick. So let's talk more about, what this all means and some of the other issues in just a second. But let me tell you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. With PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. Seriously, I did it before. I was like, do. I did some on the golf recently. That was fun, watching along. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stat projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chances of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Friday. This week on PrizePicks, I'm really into the hockey, and the NBA is kind of a snooze. Go Celtics. Can't wait to watch you guys against Kyrie. This week on PrizePicks, I'm looking at the hockey board, selecting Gustav Forsling over 1.5 shots on goal. Sam Bennett, hated in Boston, over 4 hits. Alexander Barkov, over 0.5 assists. That's easy. That's like taking money from a baby. And Chris Kreider, over 2.5 shots on goal. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first match deposit up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. So back to what I reported this weekend. So look, the reason I do this stuff is because I want the information. And I know, I'm sure there's people, every year I hear it, because I've reported on this stuff before on various players. Christian Barmore wasn't an issue. Kayshon Boutte, we'll see with him, issue. And some of the stuff is minor. Like, somebody told me, for example, there's nothing on Drake Maye. People love Drake Maye. Jalen Polk, for the most part, the league executive that I talked to, he really likes his character. I think he knows him pretty well. But I talked to another league executive when I was talking about, some of these other players on the Patriots, and they said there was a red flag on Jalen Polk. I don't know the specifics of that, but then I ran it by 2 more league executives, and they said that was a surprise to them. They had nothing. Caden Wallace. This is and I'm sure people are going to say, well, what does that mean? His family is very well educated. Of course, that's not an indictment, but they think that there's, whether it's with the kid or the family or what, they think that the perception is that there's an air of entitlement. With him, there's a question, there's the whole left tackle thing, but there's also a question about a lot of NFL teams question whether he loves football or not, which is often a question asked of some of the more highly educated players in this league. They wonder if they're passionate about it, whether he's lazy, that thing, but nothing major off the field. We talked about Baker. Who knows? Marcellus Dial, 6th round, awesome kid off the field. The key thing to know is this executive saw him as outside only. That's where he's been with the Patriots. Joe Milton, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of immaturity stuff, which most of the time you're like, okay, but he is 24 years old. There's people wonder if he's willing to put in the work to be a franchise quarterback, first into the building, last out of the building. But of course, he's a 6th round pick. So if it doesn't work out, like, who really cares? And Jaheim Bell, this executive that I talked to, really likes it. He said, personality-wise, there's a lot with him. He was borderline non-fit off the board for us. The questions are concerned were personality fit, diva, selfish, party habits, emotional maturity, needs structure, that sort of thing. But the league executive really did like him as a player and sort of the measurables, like you're betting. So, we'll have to see how these things go. Again, the purpose in doing this is not to indict anybody. I'm giving people facts. This is the opinion of the rest of the league. I don't look into this stuff before the draft. Now I know who's on the Patriots. Now I go back to those guys and I call them and be like, all right, so what's the deal with this player off the field? And sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. But we'll just have to see on all those guys. The Celtics are in the NBA Finals, and I can tell you, Nick is very excited. Celtics will have home court, so possibly 4 games at TD Garden. How awesome would it be to go to a game and experience that atmosphere and get to hate on Kyrie? GameTime makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the GameTime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat. I love that. I have to see the view from my seat before I purchase any tickets. It's right there in the app. And their lowest price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. I was just looking at the app for Game 1 and saw a ton of discounts being offered. Like, seriously, it says $49 off, $100 off. Of course, the price tags are expensive. Not outrageous if you're a hoop head and planning on going to the NBA Finals. Like I said, love getting a panoramic view from the seat in the app before I buy. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with GameTime. Purchase the GameTime app. Create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed. Okay, let's go with the mailbag. Bay Area Pats fan. Greg, Mac Jones started as a rookie and did well before the subsequent nightmare. Can Maye do the same thing, assuming they don't make the same dumb mistakes, or is it better to let him sit even if he's slightly better than Brissett coming out of training camp? Bay, I just think these guys they're in 2 different categories, Mac Jones and Drake Maye, as far as coming out. Drake May's all ceiling, young pup, has mechanical issues, all that stuff. Mac Jones was, not overly experienced, but because, it took him a while to play at Alabama. But as far as, playing in a pro-style offense, his mechanics, all that stuff, he was pro-ready. He was the most pro-ready quarterback coming out. I think you could say that Drake Maye might be, as far as the top quarterbacks in this draft, might be the least pro-ready quarterback. So the big thing is about getting Drake Maye to be his best and to develop him. And so I don't think physically, could Drake Maye be better than Jacoby Brissett coming out of training camp? Yeah, but as far as being an NFL quarterback and playing, Jacoby Brissett's played a lot of games. He's won games. The last time he was in this system, QBR, I think he was 8th in the league. A leader, durable, all that stuff. Like, I don't think it's a given. To me, it would be an upset if Drake Maye's even remotely close to being better as an NFL quarterback, like winning games that Sunday, than Jacoby Brissett. But thanks for the questions. And Phillips 77, AVP's system relies a lot on the run game to be successful. Do the Patriots have the running backs to run the system? Quick answer, yes. Is there enough depth at the position? Should they bring in another running back? This is a system where you don't need, they had Nick Chubb in Cleveland. That's great. They sort of stumbled upon him. Patriots should have drafted him over Sony Michel. But it's not the running back that makes the system. It's the system that makes the running back. I think that in any case, especially in this type of zone blocking scheme, what have you. I mean, think Terrell Davis and the Broncos. They didn't win. John Elway didn't win a Super Bowl until it was, Mike Shanahan and the zone running scheme and Alex Gibbs, the offensive line coach, and guys were coming out of the woodwork at running back to run the ball. That's the same thinking here. I mean, I remember when I covered the Packers, when they went to the NFC Championship game, should have gone to the Super Bowl in 2007. First of all, they had like no veteran backs on the roster. They drafted Brandon Jackson, I want to say in the second or third round. They drafted Deshaun Wynn really late. And those guys like started from jump. And, they were pretty good. But then they went out and they found Ryan Grant, who was toiling away on the Giants on the bottom of their roster. And they traded a late round pick for him at some point, I think in camp. He came in and the dude was like, he was like a superstar, for a while. And I think he even got a big contract from somebody at some point. So like, I'm not worried about the running back. I'm more worried about like, can they get the blocking going? That's what I'm really worried about. Can they mix the plays right? It's not about the back. And Ramondre Stevenson is great. I like Antonio Gibson. I'm sure one of these guys that they have, will work out. The Fenwick kid, I know they're high on. We haven't seen much of him. I know he's been battling some hamstring tightness. So, he could be a guy that pays off for them. And then you can find running backs wherever. So you could even find one in the UFL or whatever is being played right now. So, no, I'm not worried about the running back. I'm more worried about the offensive line. Let's get the offensive line right. Let's get the quarterback right. Let's get the system right. And, let Ramondre do his thing. G. Wolcott, I'm curious about the two shifts that might alter talent evaluation. What does going to more zone blocking imply for the line? What current guys do or do not fit that ideal prototype? So I think the reason I picked this question is because I think it's a bit of a non-story. I think it used to be back in the day, like when we were just talking about the Broncos. Back in the day, Alex Gibbs, all this stuff. They used to get small, undersized, these guys, the crab blocking and cut blocking and stuff like that, like which you can't even really do anymore legally. So a lot of things have changed. But probably the biggest change is like the offensive linemen now coming out of college are so athletic at all the positions that there aren't many players that you would say, all right, they can't do this. Now, are there guys like Michael Wenu, for example, is not an ideal fit for the zone blocking scheme, but he'll be fine. He's plenty athletic enough. He's done a lot of this stuff. The Patriots have done zone blocking. It's not a wholesale change. This has been part of their system. This is just going to be the bread and butter. Antonio Mafi would be a guy that I would look at. I mean, you're looking for foot quickness, getting out, that sort of thing. David Andrews is getting up there, but I always thought he's been good at this stuff in the past. So no, this isn't a big deal. This is, if people are bringing this up, it's sort of using old stereotypes, and it's not really something that applies to today's game. Final one here, Bill D 1530. The Patriots strength and conditioning situation seems pretty light in terms of experience, staff number, and facilities. Many top college programs have more experienced staff, significantly better facilities. This has to impact retention of top players and recruiting top free agents. Why are most of the media giving the Crafts a free pass on this? And then also on top of Mayo putting his brother in charge of the department. I don't know about the Judon Mayo thing. Look, he's the head coach. He thinks his brother's good. He's the guy. Is it nepotism? I don't know. I don't know much about Judon. We will see. But as far as the implication that the Patriots aren't doing enough with their strength and conditioning and how it might affect free agents and retaining players, to me, this again is sort of like an old way of thinking. Like, back in the day when, it was basically year-long NFL training and stuff like that. Like, you might do that. But now, like, these guys are off from the end of the season until, I think, the beginning of April for optional stuff. So that's months. They have their own stuff at home. These guys are paid a lot. They have their own gyms. They have their own trainers. In season, I'm sure the Patriots do exactly what they need to do. I don't think they're understaffed. I mean, could they use a bigger weight room and all that stuff? Yeah, sure. And that's supposed to be on the way. But my point is, like, you can't compare NFL strength training to college strength training. Colleges, those guys are there all the time. This is a recruiting set. That stuff doesn't go on in the NFL. You know, you want a player's going to come to you. I don't care if you're working out in the unfinished part of my basement. They're going to come. If you pay them the most money by a wide margin, they're going to come. The Patriots facilities are fine. They're not bad enough where people are going to avoid it. There's plenty of other teams that are worse, in my opinion, that might not hold up in the NFLPA survey, but that's what I see. So thanks for everybody for tuning in for this episode. Nick will be back on Thursday. Again, this episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And make sure you check out the NBA or NFL tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Thanks, everyone.